There was a rare moment in the House of Commons this week when a Liberal cabinet minister rose to explain how Canada saved her by providing her with the opportunity to have a safe abortion.
When I returned to Chile, I realized that you have no rights if you're pregnant. For the second time, Canada saved me by allowing me to have a legal and safe abortion for a future that I had chosen at that time. And today, for me, as for so many women, this Canadian freedom becomes so meaningful.
Minister Martinez Ferrada's revelation came during a week in which anti-abortion activists gathered on Parliament Hill. And the Liberals pressed the Conservatives on the issue of abortion, linking it to Pierre Poilievre's determination to use the notwithstanding clause to deal with some criminal justice issues. To discuss all of this, Soraya Martinez Ferrada is the Federal Minister of Tourism, and she joins me now. Minister, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Why did you choose to make that statement in the House of Commons this week?
Because I felt that just saying that our government and myself and all my colleagues would never take away women's rights, I felt it was not enough. We've been at it for since we've been in government. And this week, being in the House and seeing a member from the Conservative Party, again, for the third time, putting forward a motion and a petition that actually was kind of going through the back door to kind of remove those rights, made me think that maybe I should put myself out there and like a lot of women, because I think fighting women's rights, you have to break this silence and you have to break taboos. And you have to break the social judgment that goes with it. And I wanted to be a part of that and making sure that not only I am defending women's rights, but I am also know what it is not to have a choice. And I wanted to share that.
The situation you described, you were a young woman, you were just 18 at the time, I believe. And what were the abortion restrictions you faced in Chile at that time? And how would a lack of access have changed your life?
Well, I didn't know that at the time, but at the time in Chile, you can actually get prison time if you would have having a legal abortion in Chile. The doctor that would do the procedure could actually do prison time. Of course, laws have been a bit different now in Chile. Still, it's not 100%, it's not a free choice. You have to have very restricted reasons to be able to have an abortion as today in Chile. But what we're seeing across the world is that this far-right rhetoric is actually taking away rights to women. Look at what's happening south of the border. Look at what's happening in Italy. Look at what's happening in other countries in Europe. And I think we have to be vigilant that doesn't happen here. I don't want to scare women, but I do want to make sure that they know that there's people in the House. The only party that did not say unequivocally that as a party, they would not take women's right away, it's the Conservative Party. Pierre Poilievre as a leader has said now that he's pro-choice. But the party itself, it is not. He allows his member to present petitions, private members' bill, that in a way really sneaky about how you end up taking those rights away. And that's why I think we have to make sure that women rise in the House, like I did yesterday, and we take the shame away of that, of what it is 100% women's right to choose for our own body and our own future.
So on that point you just made about the Conservatives, and you said you sort of decided to do this as a response to the petition that Arnold Viersen tabled in the House earlier in the week, which calls for national regulation on abortion. He, along with Kathy Wagenthal, were at the protests on Parliament Hill this week. But we reached out to Pierre Poilievre, and he issued this statement saying that these outlandish claims show the true desperation of Justin Trudeau and his flailing liberals. A common sense Conservative government will not legislate on abortion and therefore would never use this section of the Constitution pertaining to this matter, this section being the notwithstanding clause. This is a position Pierre Poilievre took during the Conservative leadership race, saying that he is pro-choice and that no government he leads would do anything to restrict abortion access. Why do you not take him at his word?
So why is he allowing his members to put forward petitions, to put forward private members' bill that doesn't address directly the right of abortion, but actually takes the back door on the right of life of a fetus? So why is he saying that I made an abortion, so I'm a criminal? So what he's doing is not being truthful and authentic around the party's position to women's rights. I'm not talking about him. I'm not talking about one member. I'm talking about the party itself, and no other party in the House is taking a position as clear as we have in other parties. The only party that has not put a position clear as a party is the Conservative Party. I'm not talking about Poilievre, and I'm talking about other members of the Conservative. As a party, he has not done that.
No.
I'm a co-chair of the campaign of the Liberal Party, and there's no candidate and no member of my parliament, of my government, that will ever vote for or against any woman's taking away any woman's right on their own body.
No,
Poilievre cannot say that is party.
I understand, and that has been the position of the Liberal Party under Prime Minister Trudeau, that even if you do have personal beliefs that are anti-abortion, if you're going to run, you have to promise to vote to protect it at all times. But Mr. Poilievre is not just any member of the Conservatives, right? He's probably the most important member of the Conservatives at this point in time. And if he says his government will not enact any legislation or use any laws to restrict abortion access, backbenchers can do what they want, but it's not going to become law. You don't think that's enough of a safeguard, it seems.
It is not enough. It is not enough. When you see what's happening in other countries of the world, you have to be unequivocally for women's rights. That means that you cannot attend rallies on pro-life and make just a single slight mistake around that right. And if you allow a member to sponsor a petition, that you allow a member to bring forward a private members bill, you are not making sure, and you're not reassuring women across the country that you are at the head of a party that eventually could be a government, and that you are going to be protecting those rights. They're not doing that.
The pushback, though, Minister, is that, that the Liberals have used abortion as a wedge issue in the past, and here we go again, is what people are saying. The demonized Conservatives, even though Mr. Poilievre insists any government he leads will be pro-choice. And while there are Conservatives who are, again, anti-abortion, they're not all anti-abortion. How do you respond to that?
Well, personally, everyone can have a position on their personal belief, very own intimate beliefs. But as a government and as a party, I think you have a responsibility to be very clear. And when you allow members in your own party to do what some other members are doing, you're not doing that. You're not giving that clarity. And I think for me, when you ask me that, were you asking him around allowing members to do that? Now, they have voted against contraception. Why are they voting against contraception? We're looking into making sure that every woman in this country will be allowed to have accessible and free contraception in order to have their own reproductive rights and manage their own bodies. Why are they voted against it?
Well, are they voting against contraception, Minister?
Would they take that away?
Right, but is it fair to say they're voting against contraception, or they're voting against pharmacare as designed by the Liberals and the New Democrats, right? That's not voting to ban contraception. It's just voting against the idea of the government providing it for free. But I take your point. They are doing that, but yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Corbyn, I understand your question, but it's easy to go behind pharmacare to say that you voted against contraception. I think for them, it's easy to say that. But if you would ask them, every member without that party, if they are for contraception, I would like to have his party really commit to contraception for women as a party. When they do that, I'll believe it.
So, Minister, I wonder if we can just end this conversation where we began it, and your decision to tell this very personal moment, in a very personal story, in a moment I've not seen in a legislature before. And you say you wanted to send a message to women that you understand and to break the stigma, and you're there. I just wonder what kind of a response you've had since you made the decision to do this.
Well, it's a good question. Of course, I've had many emails and texts of encouragement, for sure. I think it, when I did that yesterday, I did not think this would take this proportion, for sure. But I also have had very mean texts and messages also, because I think it's a very personal manner, and I do understand that. But I think what's most important for me is to say to women that are going through this, which is a very hard choice to make. It is not an easy one to make. It's a very personal one to make, but it's on every own woman to make that choice. And I wanted to make sure that we can take the social judgment out of this, that we can take the shame out of this, that we can say this is a healthcare decision, that it's only to women to make. And I wanted to just say that women out there are not alone, and there are people, when you look at statistics, I mean, of course, should be, and probably are more women in probably parliament that have done this before, but they will never say it. And I don't want to force anybody to do that. But what I'm saying is that we need to make sure that in society, young girls today are well supported if they do want to make a choice that's as difficult as that one, and they will not live with the judgment and the shame of this, because there's a woman in parliament that can actually say it out loud.
Well, Minister, I appreciate it is a difficult decision and a difficult topic, but I thank you for taking the time to speak with us about it today. That's Minister Soraya Martinez Ferrada. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.